Make a motion, we approve the agenda. Oh.
Approval of the minutes of our August 12th meeting.
I have what I call a correction to the minutes.
Yes.
Under zoning, under zoning, it's B, and it says, the last sentence says, instruct council to send ordinance to DATCAP for review. And we never instructed anybody to send the ordinance. We discussed the fact that we hadn't had time to read it, so we wanted to look at it.
Okay. I think the author, though, only decided to send it anyway.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, she decided to send it, but we didn't correct it.
You're right.
We could just verify that. Okay. Are you gonna?
With the correction, to be fine.
With that correction,
yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sure. All right, with that change, is everybody all right? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Public comment. Do we have anybody upstairs? Is there anybody in the West Conference room for public comment? Is there someone up there to help them? You should be able to do it? Okay. Is there any call-ins?
Are there any call-ins to provide public comment?
I am.
Can you state your name and your address?
Sure. My name's Kathleen Hobart, and I live in Blacksbrook Township. And I'm calling just to ask that you extend the moratorium so we can really take the time we need to craft an ordinance that will protect our health and our property values and our water quality, which are things that I really value, and I know so many people in this county do. And so I'd like to see the moratorium extended, and I'd like to see you pass an ordinance that's comprehensive like the Eureka Township. So thank you for your work.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I have a comment.
State your name.
Hello?
Hello? State your name.
Hello? My name is Shelley Giswald. I live in Laketown Township. And I am just calling to ditto what the last woman said. I'd like to see an extension on the moratorium so you can get more pertinent facts in place that hasn't really been done completely yet. I just wanted to let you know that I've been finding out recently that there are many people in this county, when you talk to them about CAFOs, that have no idea what a CAFO is even yet. They have no idea what the issue is. And so they aren't coming up to speak and give public comment or attend meetings or any of these other forums because they don't even know what's going on. So I'm asking you as a county board to please, for their sake and for everyone else's sake, pass the Eureka ordinance so that the people in all townships are protected from the horrible things from our pollution of our water, air, and other problems that come from these hog factories. Thank you very much.
This is great timing, Bill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey,
Anyone else?
Hello?
I bet you better, Bill. What's up?
Can you, I'm sorry, this is Elizabeth Wood. Can you hear me?
Yes?
My name is Elizabeth Wood, and I live on Cedar Lake. Technically, I live in St. Croix County, but as all of you know, Cedar Lake is half Polk County and half
Oh, not many
St.
miles.
Croix County. I'm sorry, I'm not, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, no, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. You bet. Hi.
Get another car?
Hmm?
You get another car?
No, my buddy Kevin's wanting to look at snowmobile. For camera. Why are snowmobiles?
Could everyone except for the woman speaking in public comment, please mute your phone or your computer? Thank you. And then would the lady
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead and start?
Elizabeth Wood, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, because I could hear a phone conversation that had nothing to do with CAFOs or county business, or it was that some sort of weird technology problem.
Okay.
Or
You can go ahead.
okay, thank you. Again, my name is Elizabeth Wood. I live on Cedar Lake. As you all know, half of the lake is in St. Croix County, half is in Polk County. All the residents of the lake are affected by what Polk County decides on these CAFO moratoriums. I support the extension of the moratorium. I also support Polk County adopting the Eureka ordinance. And I echo many of the comments I've already heard this morning. I was one of the 150 people that submitted a comment a few weeks ago. I have attended the rallies outside of the courthouse in support of these CAFO moratoriums. Thank you for all the work you're doing on this. Please listen to all of the residents of Polk County and also residents up and down the watershed, because we are all affected by these decisions that are being made statewide. In my opinion, there should be a statewide moratorium, but there is not. So it's going to be up to every single county and township to do the work and get these passed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Miss,
Hello,
Hello?
Chairman O'Donnell, can I speak?
Yes?
Hello, my name is Sarah Bio, and I am from Lake Town Township, and I'm currently standing in my barn looking at my cows and listening to the public comments, and I just have a few things I'd like to say. I don't believe that you guys need to extend the moratorium in any way. We've already been doing this for a year. I think that the staff at the Polk County has done more than enough research and listening to public comment and doing everything that they possibly can to look at both sides of this issue. The Eureka ordinance, we don't even know if it's legal or not. Why would Polk County want to possibly pass something that would not be legal. 98% of our food in this nation comes from CAFOs. If we are going to start outlawing CAFOs, what are we going to do for our food supply in this country? Why do we want to micromanage the state of Wisconsin? They already take care of CAFOs. They have the strict guidelines these CAFOs have. Why is Polk County trying to micromanage what the state already has? Last weekend, I took my son on the riverboat tour in St. Croix Falls. It goes between the Minnesota and Wisconsin side. And I found it really interesting. In that 45-minute tour, the gal that was given the commentary said that the St. Croix River is one of the top 10 cleanest rivers in the state of Wisconsin. And I thought that was really pretty special. Our farm has a snowmobile trail that goes through it. Our trail is number 119. Until this moratorium is done and something is passed legal, our land will be closed to the snowmobile trail. Our trail goes between Cushing and Grantsburg. So I just wanted to let you know on that. So again, I really respect all of you on the environmental committee and the staff. Thank you for everything you've done. But please know that there's a lot of people who do not support this moratorium and that are supportive of farmers. Thank you for your time. Bye.
Thank you. Anyone else?
His voice is still bad.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Marcia Marquardt. I live in the town of Sterling. And I do want to thank the committee and the staff for all the work that they've done over the past year regarding the issue of CAFOs in Polk County. On the August 12th meeting of Environmental Services, Supervisor Duncan and also supported by Supervisor Middleton, the committee was encouraged to please consider extending the CAFO moratorium and also review the operations ordinance. I live in Sterling, and it is one of the 5 townships that are unzoned, and that is why I really would like you to take the time to look at the operations ordinance before making a decision of what to present to the full board. I think it's really fortunate that we have so many great things about Polk County in our midst, our trails, our parks, forestry. We have great public safety and public works departments, and everything works together. And I think that has also been expressed by some of the people calling. We have to work together to get this project done. So please take the time. Let the committees look through the Eureka ordinance or an operations ordinance, work together. Also at a meeting, it was discussed that the townships be contacted to see what their feelings were. And so I would especially like to see that step taken to talk with the different townships and to gain this work with the supervisors that work in the areas, especially those that are unzoned, and work with the constituents that are in those areas. I do want to thank the committees and the staff and everybody who's worked on this project. So let's go one more step, extend the moratorium, and continue to work on the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
If I am repeating
Hello?
something anybody else has said, I apologize. I've had some difficulty calling in on this line. A couple things. First of all, I reiterate the position of extending the moratorium. Secondly, it appears from some reading I've been doing, trying to get caught up on this, that you have not done the scientific research. I find that candidly offensive. My daughter provided a whole boatload, 6 inches worth of articles at a meeting back, I think, in October, all with scientific research. If that hasn't been reviewed, It really needs to be done. But the other thing is, I am concerned about process. My understanding is you have on your packet of items to discuss today, agenda item 9A, and yet there's nothing in the packet regarding the DATCAP recommendations. But the other thing, and I read an article in the Leader that it would in fact, I think the lead item in the Leader said that the resolution was not passed to send it to DATCAP. And I've heard secondarily that there's been some sort of amorphous representation that DATCAP sort of magically found it and decided to opine. I find that very difficult to believe. So I think you need to address and discuss why that was sent to DATCAP, who sent it to DATCAP, when, and so that there is some detail on this. Because I don't believe for a moment that it just popped out of the sky. That is, frankly, an insult to our intelligence. So you need to address that, because you need to follow the procedures that are put out by the committee, and people not unilaterally doing things on their own. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Lisa Dorr, and I also live in the town of Lake Town. And I wanted to support extending the moratorium. The main purpose of the moratorium, as stated in Section 4, Paragraph 1, is to study the potential impacts of these livestock facilities on Polk County. So whether you decide to pass a zoning ordinance like we've been developing, or an operations ordinance, as some supervisors have suggested, maybe both a zoning and an operations ordinance, we need the conditions to be based on reasonable and scientific findings. And the current zoning-based conditions cannot stand up. They're not based on reasonable and scientific findings. And I have not, none of us have had a chance to see what DATCAP has said, but from what I could tell at the last meeting, they found that a lot of the conditions were lacking. So the study that was published in April, there was a statement from staff that your committee told them not to recommend any findings or conclusions. And we can find no record of this. There doesn't seem to be a vote on it or even a discussion. All of a sudden, we were just told that there would be no conclusions and no findings. So it appears maybe there's not an understanding of the legal responsibility to provide these findings. Maybe there's an effort to undermine the legal basis of any ordinance, but we really feel like we've got to have those scientific findings as part of any ordinance. I'd also like to comment on the operation ordinance that's before you today. We've reviewed the draft, and we really appreciate that the committee is now looking at this operations-based approach instead of a siting-based approach. However, this draft is also missing almost all of the scientific findings that are part of the Eureka ordinance. So the Eureka ordinance includes in the body of the ordinance a fair amount of scientific references, and then an entire Appendix A that's got, I believe, 46 scientific references. And all of those references are also missing from the draft too. So, we really need to take the time to do the study to produce the reasonable and scientific findings that are the basis of any conditions. So I ask that we extend the moratorium and take the time to do that work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? Anyone else? Doesn't look like it.
Hello?
No.
Hello, can you?
Yes.
This is Deborah Boyne, and I, as Lisa indicated, in supporting what we're wanting to see with the research being done. And work needs to show that everything is supposed to be doing.
You broke up.
Instances need to be based on findings. You know, 29 required the staff to do that study. Apparently, that has been what I understand. And these that are going to be coming in, are they providing to show what they're doing to and 20 years
Yes.
and we need to extend this moratorium to do that work.
Be on her end, do you think, that the phone isn't working? Something. Can she hear us that we can't hear her?
And hear me?
Can't hear you. You're getting all broke up.
Can you now?
We could just hear the last sentence. Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, well, what had indicated,
No, we lost you again. Can you hear us?
it's a little, but, I mean, I've got my way up, so can you hear me better now?
Just a little bit. Try again. No. No, you're all broke up. We don't get anything.
Oh, jeez. It should, but,
Maybe they should bring up the thing about how bad cell service is in the county instead.
meeting was really challenging to get on, and that's why I ended up joining in late. Can you hear?
No, you get about every other word is all we're hearing.
Oh, let me just double check one other thing, to make sure that my, all right, well, I'm gonna try to repeat what I said earlier, supporting what Lisa had in, we need to extend this more to more work, the work that is needed to pass a strong ordinance going forward. And we need to make the companies coming in accountable to show us what we need to trust them as far as how they are going to take care of our environment if they happen to come in or allow it to come. But there have been and definitely see that more work at ES committee to make sure that things are done.
Okay, we've lost you again, completely.
Well, ordinances need to be based on scientific findings, and environmental services needs to do.
Okay.
Can hear me? And we need work done. Okay.
We'll have to just mute her and move up. We got time for one more.
Hello? Hello? Hello, this is Chris Clark. Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, this is Chris Clark. I live in Laketown, and I appreciate all the information that Lisa Dorr has so painstakingly investigated, and would like to encourage some of the county supervisors to do the same. I believe this moratorium would be should be extended until everybody that has to make a decision has got all the information that's available from the scientific point of view, from the environmental and health points of view. I've spoken before about my own concerns as a healthcare provider about the health impact of the CAFOs, specifically what we're learning about meat packing plants and CAFOs in general, passing diseases. And I personally have yet to meet somebody that is for this CAFO, particularly people that live within 5 miles of it, but also other people who live downriver or would be affected by a contaminated water table. We went to your meeting last week and we were on the lawn doing a rally and heard a lot of testimony from somebody who lives and had lived near a very large dairy CAFO and talked about all the oversight that was missing over the CAFO that existed there from the DNR, which it seems like this committee has repeatedly said we're relying on to keep us safe. And the DNR is overextended, and tax dollars for that kind of thing are dwindling. So I think considering an ordinance that puts the burden of protection on the citizens with the people that are making the profit from it is a reasonable thing to do. I was part of a group called the Good Neighbors, and one of the things that we have considered doing is surveying people door to door, because it doesn't seem as if the committee is aware of just how many people are really very, very opposed to the hot CAFO. I do appreciate that you continue to meet on this issue and that we have a moratorium in place. I would like it extended. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We can go one more if there's anyone else. Anyone else? All right, then we're going to close the public comment period. All right, number 5. Anybody have a conflict of interest? I don't think so. Let us know. Number 6. other ones here? Okay. Tax delinquent, I see Mr. Norby's not here. All right, for the fee schedule, doesn't that go to general government? Isn't that under them now?
Which the fee schedule, lime quarry, he will be talking to the general government. I know he's not here today. So I mean, I can tell you there was a slight increase proposed, like 75 cents. So it'd be like 10.75 a ton, I think was the number. But yeah, we'll discuss that at general government. And then of course, with the last board meeting where we discussed the RFP regarding lime quarry, that would affect it obviously too. So.
But now isn't lime quarry under general government?
Do you recall?
Isn't that under general
I think the fee
government now?
schedule, he usually does both, doesn't he?
Right. This committee had traditionally always been the committee that set the price of ag lime annually.
Yes.
But I think that is now appropriately under general government.
Yes, I think so. All right, that's why I was wondering why it was on. Okay. Number 8, Mark.
Yeah, just here in front of you today to get within the notes committee's approval to apply for the Forestry Sustainable Grant. Basically, I'll be applying for 2 of them. The first one will be a GPS unit for about $2,000. The second grant I'll be applying for would be for a deer fence up in the town of Lorraine. That's going to be about $5,000. So if I could just get that in the notes that the Environmental Services Committee approves the Forest Administrator to approve for the Sustainable Forestry Grant in 2020, that'd be great. I guess any questions on that before we go ahead and put that in the notes?
Anyone have any questions for him? Go ahead, Brad.
Is this fencing in an acre or whatever, I mean, to check on deer damage, is that something that's relatively new or has that been around a while?
So the first part of that question is yes, it's to monitor the impacts that deer are having on the oak regeneration. Essentially, this site was cut 2 years ago in an oak shelterwood, trying to encourage oak regeneration. So yes, to deter deer browse and study the impacts. This would be new to Polk County. These deer fences are all over the state. So this would be the first deer fence that is located on the Polk County forest. I guess other studies are showing that, yeah, deer are having a drastic impact on the composition of what's regenerating in the forest, i.e. what's regenerating is more sugar maple, other maples, and ash with hardly any oak regeneration.
All right. Would somebody like to make a motion that he can apply for the grant? Brad?
Oh, I can make a motion so that you can go ahead with these grant proposals. Is that what you need?
Is that what we need? Okay, Doug and Brad?
Okay, thank you. And I guess while I'm up here, just wanted to let you know.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
There we go. Now you can tell us.
And real quickly, while I'm up here, I'm going to begin working on the 2021 forestry work plan, which the first step involves a DNR partnership meeting. And I don't know, you guys will be seeing the final work plan and you'll need to approve this. I'll be bringing that late September, early October. This is what makes the county eligible for the Forester Administrator Grant. So usually I bring that in October, and that also needs county board approval. One of the items that I guess I'd like you guys to think about is in the partnership meeting, I'll be talking with the DNR in regards to looking at what the state is doing with extensions and moving forward with cutting timber in regard to Verso paper going down. So I'm going to be brainstorming with them, and basically it's a mill that took 700,000 cords of fiber that has been shut down now for about 2 months. Moving saw logs, great. Pulpwood is slow to move. So more to come on that, but late September, early October, I'll be coming with that work plan.
All right. Go ahead, Brad.
When do we have another timber sale coming? I mean, anytime soon or not?
And this is part of the work plan. Traditionally, we have the timber auction anywhere from February to April. Right now, I've got it kind of earmarked for April. I'm kind of trying to buy time because as time goes by, some of the dust is settling per se, associated with this mill closure. They may reopen it up. We'll see. I don't have a crystal ball on that. They have not made the official decision to close it, but it is sitting idle at the current moment. So as time goes by, that will, in this case, buy a little more clarity.
Anyone else? All right, thanks, Mark. So the public hearing won't start till 10. Boy, we don't have. We want to start on discussions under zoning. We want to start on A for a little bit. We might as well get started.
All right, good morning. Just kind of going off from 8A, discussion of the conditional use conditions after we received the feedback from the Department of Ag. The letter that we received here, we provided at your last meeting, and that from DATCAP. It has basically 3 bullet points, and then this is from Tim Jackson. And the first bullet point is basically that the conditions cannot be related to swine only, and that it has to be applying to all livestock facilities, and that the proposed ordinance does not incorporate all of the standards from ATCP 51. We knew that, and that when DATCAP was going to review this, that they were going to be reviewing it to their administrative code and not other powers in that the county could possibly look at. And then the third one is the main letter, and that where he basically strikes and that a bunch of the conditions that we have been talking about over the last few months. And I did talk with Tim, it was actually this morning, and basically in that was trying to rework some of the conditions with them. And he said basically in that the ones that he suggested removing would be considered more restrictive than ATCP 51 or their administrative code. And basically the county would need, if they were challenged on this, to prove and that they're scientifically defensible and that they're reasonable and that they clearly show how they protect the public health and safety of the Polk County water resources and citizens. And that he said that he's only known of 2 areas in that actually have adopted more stringent standards like this. But he hasn't ever heard of any of them actually being upheld in court. And that, so in other words, basically anything that's been more restrictive so far has been struck down. He did also mention in that Malia and that has submitted the operations ordinance and that to them to review. He's working on a letter and that to take and confirm and that their review of that ordinance as well. His general thoughts on that ordinance is it's very much a citing based ordinance. A lot of the language in there is what he typically sees in a normal citing ordinance. And he also brought up in that about performance bonds and about permit fees. And I believe that the letter that he's going to provide the county is going to say, and that what we've heard from Malia and that as our council and that it is currently definitely prohibited underneath the statute to have any performance bond on an ag facility like this. And then the same thing goes in that with the permit fee. And that Malia took and did the presentation in that where it said the maximum was $1,000. And that's currently on that the max as well. So just trying to give you an update in that I think that you're going to see both of those in that letter. Now in talking with him and that he also got a copy of the attorney's opinion and that from Madison down there. And about the legalities of the higher permit fees and the performance bond. And basically in that there's some statutory authority questions and that they're trying to look at, both attorneys, you know, in that. But that's, you know, possibly future new legislation and that hasn't been addressed. So that's where there's, you know, been two different opinions is, and Tim, believes in that they might not be in the correct spot in the statutes as far as the permitting fee maximum and the bond requirements. But right now, in that it's pretty clear in that they're prohibited to be over 1,000 and to have any performance bond. So it might change in the future. And it might be something that the county could get by with until that changes. It sounds like they're looking at it at the state level because of the whole CAFO matter around the whole state, but there hasn't been anything changed right now. With that, Tim's got the conditions up here. I'd like to just kind of go through the conditions in that were struck by DATCAP for not being in compliance or being more stringent are A and B, C and D, and then E as well. F has to do with waste storage, and that is a legal condition. G, and that was struck. And then H was kept, and that H is legal. I, J, and K, L, and M. And then N and O are legal conditions. But P is not. And Q is legal. So that's kind of where we stand right now. Again, DATCAP's role is advisory to the county. They've offered, and Tim offered again today, to try to help you and that draft an ordinance that would comply with ATCP 51. But again, it's not going to have a lot of the criteria in the CUP stuff that we've been talking about or in the operations-based ordinance. It's going to be basically a citing law. And that, again, the pro to having a citing-based ordinance is it would apply to all areas of Polk County. But you're going to be very limited. That's just an administrative review and that through land and water. There's no public hearing, no public involvement in that process. So that's some pro give and take in that. But unlike other administrative codes where they're the minimum standards, and if you're better, you're good. This one here, in that the administrative code is the standard, period. You can't be above it, you can't be below it, really. So, except for a few setbacks. But, so with that, that's what I've got for an update, on that.
But right there, just because we've talked about it a lot, I mean, the farm, on P, farm owner and operator must live within 5 miles of a farm. In a CUP, that could be asked of the applicant, and if they were willing, then it could be a condition.
Correct. Just administratively in that, when I look at the operations-based ordinance or a citing ordinance, and that those two ordinances are both pretty straightforward, in that they're kind of limiting on what you can do for conditions. The operations-based ordinance spends a lot of time talking about, well, the county's going to get reimbursed for staff and money and that for doing studies and all this kind of stuff and that. But I truly think that if you want to regulate each property uniquely, and that, or put extra conditions on, that the CUP process, and that is going to provide you more flexibility or greater regulation, and that then the operations based, because it's got a lot of those. I mean, yeah, and that the county might be covered for cost, but at the same time, and that the county is responsible for, you know, having staff to administer ordinances and doing the work to take and administer the ordinance, and that even at the county board level, doing the review. So you have that side of things, and then the citing side, or just an administrative review of the ordinance, that's going to be the most restrictive. I mean, it's going to be basically, does he meet the requirements in the ordinance? Yes, no, and moving forward, you know. So the CUP, and that literally we could take out all these conditions, and you could just say a swine CAFO requires a conditional use permit, and you could brainstorm all of this on the fly. It could literally be that simple. And you would have a review, and you would be looking at our administrative portion of the ordinance where it has the criteria, and that to take and make sure, you know, and that they're protecting public health and safety and water and all that kind of stuff. And ultimately, any other conditions that the committee would assign, that would fall back to that as well. So and that's underneath section 10.65 B. Or A, and then B, and it's the standards applicable to all conditional use permits, and there's 12 of them there. And then he doesn't have any issues, you know, in that with our other modification that we did to the administrative section, and that which requires, you know, additional information to be at the applicant's expense. So we kind of got a lot of that that's enumerated in the operations-based ordinance covered underneath that article as well. I don't know if that answered your question, but basically you can take and get rid of all of these and that and create all new and that, but whatever you put in here is the minimum then, and then the committee here can assign more.
But if it's not on this list, let's say, I mean, there's 17 things on there now, and 12 of them, whatever they said we couldn't do, but if we had 8 things on the list that we could require, we can ask a farm owner or operator. We can't demand that they live within 5 miles, but we could place that condition. You know, we could ask for that condition. But if the applicant said, yeah, no, I'm not going to live within 5 miles because my house is 6.5 miles, you know, from the farm, we could not turn the applicant down for that, right?
If it's in here and that, or if it's as part of the text and it's as a condition and that applicant would be turned away.
Right, but if
it's not there and that, then you could take and say, in order to, you know, have timely response on a spill and to make sure that the operation is being, you know, watched over and that we want to require it to be within 5 miles, and that then if the applicant's not willing to comply with that, then you guys could possibly create a little bit more findings and stuff, but have the ability to deny the application. If it's put in the ordinance and that as the minimum criteria, it would take a use variance and that through the Board of Adjustment in order to take and get a variance from that provision, which our Board of Adjustment does not have the authority to grant. So that's the nice thing about putting in conditions up front here is you're kind of setting the groundwork to even bring an application to the committee.
Yes.
I guess in a nutshell, Jason gives us a lot to think about. We had a lot to think about before. So as far as the CUP recommendations and the ordinance recommendation, we need time to work on these things. Because I don't have the paper with me today, but I have in writing where it says that the bond and schedule are unenforceable by DATCAP at this point. And he actually told me that, but Jason said that's not the way he explained it. He told me right now they're unenforceable. So we need to look into some of these things. And we still need to study this ordinance, because I'm just curious, why aren't the Appendix A and the scientific studies, are you just have them and we're not going to put them in until later, or?
Well, if you recall the telephone call with the attorney from that environmental firm, they were going to get scientific studies that were swine specific to Supervisor Middleton so she could forward those to me, and I have yet to see those. The ones that were in the Eureka ordinance were not specific to swine. They were all-encompassing, so it would not be appropriate to leave those all-encompassing ones in here. So that is the reason why they're not in.
Okay, that's a good explanation. But that's why we need time to move forward so that we can find out where that.
Mr. Chair, I do have one update too, and this isn't really maybe specific to 18A. It also includes about the extension of the moratorium. I'm not sure if all the committee members know on that yet, but the executive committee at their last meeting and that talked about this, and they really wanted to get it to the full county board. Because the operations-based ordinance is not going to be something that can be done in time for the end of the moratorium that we have in place right now, just with public hearing requirements and that. And so the executive committee took it upon themselves to try to get something in place for Polk County in case the moratorium doesn't get extended. And by doing that, they've actually requested that the existing conditional use conditions go to the full county board as is, and that in September. And that, so, and that, as far as I understand it, that will be on the agenda. We have held the proper public hearing up to this point. There hasn't been any changes to that. So there's no need to hold another public hearing, but the county board could take action on it, and that was submitted with, I believe, recommending approval.
Because right now, we have nothing in place for CAFO, the county.
Correct. Barring the moratorium, and that a CAFO could come into Polk County with no regulation after the expiration of this moratorium.
Yes, because we have none.
I'll just ask for a little clarification from Jason. They can't come in without any regulations. The state they still have to follow all state and federal regulations. So just for clarification, it isn't like I can go build a CAFO without any regulations. They're still one of the most heavily regulated industries in the state of Wisconsin. So I mean, it isn't like there's nothing there.
Correct. And Supervisor Olson, and that they would still have to go through the DATCAP permitting process and DNR permitting process, working with Matt Jackson, and that with the DNR, and going through that stuff. There just wouldn't be anything specific to Polk County. And by no means in that does adopting just a CAFO conditional use, and our swine CAFO conditional use criteria prohibit the adoption or working on an operations-based ordinance into the future. It's going to give Polk County something in place, and that in case that moratorium or an extension on the moratorium and that becomes unlawful, and that at least there's something there. And that the operations ordinance can still be worked on, and that by the committees.
Mr. Chairman, just a clarification. We worked on this resolution, and what are you saying? We're going to make a recommendation on the moratorium extension. out of this committee to get on for September.
So at the county board then, and that you're gonna have that extension and that to be considered, and also the conditional use amendment, and that to amend the comprehensive land use ordinance, and that to have swine conditions and that, so.
Okay, I'm unclear on that second part, in that I'll probably never get a good answer, but we have a committee here that's working on, has been working on the conditional use. Now we're switching a little bit, not a little bit, we are switching to work, talking about the operations ordinance. And now another committee can supersede us and say, we want this on the agenda without it even, they never even came here to talk to us.
I'm gonna refer that to Malia, and that for the county board rules of order.
So the executive committee, whenever there's issues at other subcommittees regarding topics, is the committee that can kind of assign or divvy up things, and decide which committee is going to address what. But I think you have to look at the resolution that extended the moratorium the first time. It requires this committee to send 30 days prior to the expiration of the moratorium, send something to the county board. So I think even if this committee did nothing, where you're at right now, it's appropriate to have it on the next county board meeting, unless of course the moratorium is extended. And so I think the order in which those things are placed on the agenda will be important.
And what we were gonna send out of this committee, and that, as you guys have seen in the past with other ordinance amendments, and that staff is required to file a report with the county board. And that report, and that would be coming from us instead of the administrator that was in the original moratorium. And we would be weighing out, how much public comment we received, what the public comment was, all of that report to the full county board.
Just one more thing.
Well, we'll come back.
Oh, okay.
Let's just take a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back for our public hearing. Take like a 5-minute break, okay? All right. Let's open this up then, Jason, if you want to read that.
All right, yeah, so we're opening up the public hearing on Sarah Rank's application to rezone a portion of her property from residential Ag 5 to recreational, business, and commercial B2. The property affected is 2631 80th Street, County Road O. It's part of the northeast quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 22, Town 36 North, Range 16 West, Town of Bone Lake, parcel number 012-00503-0000. The property itself is 36 acres or 36.49 acres in size. The area to be rezoned is proposed to be 1 acre. With that, I'd like to ask Tim and that if you could take and unmute everybody so if we can see if the applicant is online. Is Sarah Link on?
So, but what are they going to do? So.
Again, is Sarah appearing by phone? Okay, we've unmuted a few people, and that is Sarah appearing by phone for the rezone. All right, with that, we'll move forward. And the property, and that again is in the town of Bone Lake. And that the area to be rezoned starts approximately, I'll let Tim pull up the map. The area to be rezoned starts approximately 500 feet west of the southeast corner of that 40. And that which basically starts about where the woods is around the pond. The rough dimensions or the proposed area is 170 feet north and south, and it's 256 feet east and west. It does have some shoreline frontage there right on that little pond. The recreational business commercial zoning classification is just that. It's basically to allow commercial businesses that are customarily found in a recreational area and that to be placed on the property. And that the applicant has stated in her application that she's asking to rezone 1 acre to a campground so that her father can move to the property for the summers because of his health. Without being zoned and that to the commercial zoning classification, the county's got a rule that only allows 1 dwelling per parcel. And so then they can't build like a mother-in-law suite. And I believe that he's got a camper that he wants to use anyway. By doing the campground on that portion, that would allow him to keep a travel trailer there for more than 14 days out of the 60 days, which is what our requirement is for not having a permit. And then our other requirement in that, our other option for travel trailers is basically in that for a longer period of time, they can pull a seasonal permit if they put in a sewer system to keep it there from May 15th through December 1st. And that by rezoning this, this would allow them to keep it there longer or year round. We also have a provision in that would allow somebody to keep a travel trailer on a piece of property and that year round and that, but they got to have a full 40 acres and that, and this one's at 36 acres. So they're just missing that provision and that to be able to do it. The town of Bone Lake has approved the rezone request. They submitted in an exhibit to us. That is Exhibit 1, and I'll just read that quick. It was in the form of an email from Daryl Franson, which is the clerk for the town of Bone Lake. Good morning, Jason. I'm writing to let you know that Sarah Rank came before the town board on June 2nd, 2020 to request the town's permission to allow a zoning change to her property, making 1 acre of it to be designated as campground. The town board granted her request. Please let me know if we need to do any more with this situation. That was dated June 4th, 2020. And that with that, again, I mentioned it's on a small pond, so it is a class 3 water body. And the county has published the hearing request in the paper for 2 weeks and provided notices and that to the neighboring property owners. No other objections were filed in writing and that, but I believe that we do have a couple of neighbors here. So with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Okay. All the proper notices were sent out.
Correct, for a class 2 notice, yep.
All right. And the applicant is not here, so do we have people that want to speak for or against it here?
Good.
Okay.
Do you have any conditions or concerns in that you'd like to tell the committee?
Oh, get up a microphone. Just state your name, please.
My name is Peggy Schilling. We have property across from her, and we mostly wanted her to know we use that land for hunting, and if she's gonna have horse therapy there, we just kind of wanted her to know that was gonna happen, so that she didn't expand, on her little adventure here. That's all.
Okay.
Just to add to that, Mr. Chair, and that there was a land use permit that was pulled and that to construct a fairly large riding arena. And that here within the last couple months as well. That portion of the business, and that, or I don't know if you could say it a business, but that portion would be located outside of the area that's being proposed to be rezoned. So that would be separate use, and that they would have to ask for more land to be zoned commercial, and that in order to take and use that building for something else, and that then what they are intending to do. So.
Anyone else have any questions or concerns? No one? Okay. Well, with that, then we can close the public hearing.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion for or against the rezone. To approve, okay.
I can second it.
And, anyone else have any questions, concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We need findings of fact. Or do you have those listed?
Correct. Yeah, I can take and I can run down. Basically, in that, the first finding is that the area to be rezoned is 170 by 256 feet, starting 500 feet west of the southeast quarter of their parcel. The total property size right now is 36.49 acres. The area to be rezoned is only 1 acre. The property and the rezoned portion fronts on a class 3 water body. The county published the proper notices in the paper and to the neighbors within 300 feet. And the area is currently zoned residential Ag 5, but the town of Bone Lake has approved rezoning of that 1 acre of land to be recreational business. Basically what I've got.
Would it also fall under shoreline?
And that it does fall under shoreline zoning. Yep.
Should have that maybe in there.
Or it would fall underneath the shoreline overlay. Right?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, anybody else, anything? If not, okay.
And then our conclusions in that would be that the town has supported the rezone request. The use of the property would be consistent with surrounding uses. And you can't really say it's really in compliance with the comprehensive plan, but that's basically it. Town approved, and that the use is, going to be similar to that area and to some surrounding uses.
Okay.
For 1 acre.
And it's because of our other ordinances, so it fits in. So it's not non-compliant, all right.
With that, I can just have you sign this form.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
Back to 9A for discussion, yeah, on the conditional use to move it. Well, one thought is, do we know how it is on the agenda right now for the county board? What order is it in? Or has that not been set up?
I don't think it's been set up yet.
Okay, so the moratorium should be before this, because if the moratorium's extended, we wouldn't have to pass the conditional use. If the moratorium doesn't get extended, we should pass the CUP or do something. So,
I think we could do both.
well, we can do
yeah.
both.
So, yeah. But I don't know how they could.
Which order should we have it in? Say,
Well, I guess that's up to the county board chair.
well, we gotta help them, so we'll tell him.
Okay, sounds good.
Which
I guess the moratorium extension could go first. I don't think it renders the CUP moot. It certainly could then cause somebody to move to lay on the table to a date certain the CUP based upon the moratorium. Doesn't have to. So I think that would probably be just the best flow. And we can make that recommendation to the chair.
should have some kind of, so we don't end up with nothing.
Right.
I mean, if they both get voted down, we have 0.
Right, that's true.
So I mean, we gotta have it covered. I think. Anybody else wants something? Go ahead.
No, I'm not questioning that.
You think, yeah. We should have something.
I'm so perplexed on how that can be done that way, but that's okay. Are we gonna get submitted by put on here?
I'm sorry, I can't see that.
It's the resolution extending the moratorium.
Somebody requested me to draft that.
I did. Amy did. Rand did.
Oh, I don't think you guys, wasn't it you?
We asked Vince to.
Yeah.
Right.
So I asked you to do it. I discussed it with you.
So I drafted it. So now is this committee going to?
We would like our names on there as when we turn in the resolution, you usually look to see who sponsored it.
Okay, put your name on it then, I guess. I drafted it at the request of the administrator, so wherever it goes from there.
Yeah, well, I think if you just sign it, Doug, I mean, your name isn't printed there like normally, but I think if it was signed.
I know.
Yeah.
I was asked to ask that question.
Yeah. Okay, are you done? I mean.
Oh, no, I got one more question.
Okay.
Okay, this is simple. I got an email, and the line here, whereas for villages, towns, and cities, development moratoriums are not to last more than 12 months. And right in the agenda, there's a chart from DATCAP, and it says they can have a moratorium for 2 years.
This moratorium was enacted as a development moratorium. It was under your initial moratorium could be for up to 12 months, and it could be extended one time for an additional 6 months. Because the county board's initial moratorium was only 6 months, that was your first moratorium. It was extended once for 6 months. So there's a strong argument to be made that any extension would be contrary to law, but there's also an argument to be made that it can go up to 18 months because the first one could have been 12 months, and we really have only had through this coming up October the 12 months.
I guess, I just got to ask this. It says, and the statute is silent on a county's ability to do the same. So if DATCAP says that there is no, why can't we just do it because there is no statute?
Oh, that's a really good question. Because cities and villages and towns that are exercising village authority have not only administrative home rule, but legislative home rule. So that means that they can enact local legislation as long as the state is silent on it or empowers them to do it, whereas counties are considered arms of the state. So counties are limited. We have administrative home rule, but we do not have legislative home rule. We can only enact local resolutions and ordinances, local legislation, that we are specifically granted the authority under the statutes to do so. So that's how we have less authority than cities, villages, and towns that are exercising village powers.
So I'm just going to back up to Kim's thought. I'm not, and I don't know, I guess my thought is I don't know how it, I don't know if it matters which one is first or second on the agenda. They would both be taken up as long as they're on the agenda. And one doesn't necessarily outweigh or overrule the other one, whichever way they're on the agenda. I mean, they would both be voted on one way or the other.
Yes, I'm just wondering if that would sway votes one way or another, that, you know, that we wouldn't have anything if we didn't have, if the moratorium wasn't done. So, all right, we gotta jump to C. How about A, we went through.
Okay.
So that's what we're moving forward.
I got a question on A.
I have one question.
Yeah, we're on A, yeah.
So, it was 5 of the 17, right, that DATCAP said was okay.
Correct, yes.
So then, 2 weeks from now, or at our next meeting, whenever, why wouldn't we have a copy of what those 5 are? And then if you can scroll down up, we'll get back to A, I guess, Tim, is what I'm thinking here. I'll come back to, I guess I'm not sure why that one wouldn't pass DATCAP's standards, or there again, maybe with the help of DATCAP on A and maybe some others, we just, you know, maybe we've got, I'll say, too much wording or not enough wording in like A to, you know, find out what it takes to make it pass to be on the paper. And just, you know, and the others too, maybe that, you know, that they're saying we can't, and then just, I'll say, have a clean copy of saying, well, here, if we take, you know, everything off after and, you know, on A, it's okay. And see if we could clean some of the language up in some of the 12 to make them apply to a conditional use permit to be on it.
I asked Tim that exactly, and there's really nothing that we can do. And that you got to remember that, like the 590 standard, you know, and that's regulated by the DNR. It's not regulated by DATCAP, so that's why it's not in DECP 51.
Well, so much for that thought.
Just an update for the committee too, and that just got a note here from Lori, and that our last rezone applicant is on quarantine due to COVID, so that's why she wasn't able to attend today. So.
All right, Doug, you had a question?
Yeah, I did. I'm back to the resolution on extending the moratorium.
Oh.
We usually send it up to the board with a recommendation out of committee.
We can jump down to that and do it then. I was still trying to go ABC. We're on it. Let's go on it.
Oh, okay. it's okay.
Yep. It says any order, we can change it. All right. So this you want, yeah, because we haven't moved this to.
Correct. That has not been moved.
Oh, yeah. All right, sorry. Okay, so we need a motion to move C to the county board. That's all we're at.
Could I ask one question, Kim?
Yes.
So the whereas the COVID-19 pandemic, isn't that going to, I think I like that that's in there because I think that's really giving us a leg up on why we should, how we could extend it legally, because of course that's impacted everything. So I just wanted to say that.
Are we on this on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm C. We just went on one. Okay. I said that. All right. So we're on C. 9C. Well, if there's no other question, we'll take a motion to move it forward. Go ahead, Brad.
I had a question. I was just waiting until there was the motion, but that's fine. So, other than just, I'll say, delaying things, I guess I'm looking, sorry, I'm looking for a reason as to why it is that we want to extend it, not because all of a sudden the health department has jumped in and said, we want an operational ordinance. The health department could have jumped in 12 months ago and said, we want an operational ordinance. You know, what are the reasons that we need to extend the moratorium now? I say that and I assume that we get something, you know, to the county board in September. But if we bring something to the county board in September, at that point, other than just stopping this process of a conditional use permit, I mean, are we saying that, because this is just saying to extend it and not a reason why. I mean, are we extending it for ground and surface water? Are we extending it for air quality because of hydrogen sulfide? I mean, what are the reasons that we're extending it? 6 months ago, we extended it because this committee wasn't done. They're going to assume if we get something to the county board, you know, it's September, then this committee at that point is done with what we were asked by the county board to do. So I guess I'm just looking for, I guess, an answer and explanation of beyond wanting an operational ordinance, but we could, Health and Human Services could work on an operational ordinance one way or the other. We don't need a moratorium to work on that, or this committee or any other committee. So what are the reasons that we need to extend it if something is in place from this committee that the county board asked us to? You know, if it's water quality, if it's, you know, hydrogen sulfide quality, if those things were there, then I guess I could see somewhat the reason as to why. But I see no reason other than that, well, we want to look at something else, and I guess I would need something, a reason to extend it more than just saying, well, we want to delay, install, and wait and see what it is. You know, what are the real reasons that we want to extend the moratorium?
All right.
I just think based on some of the information that we just received from Jason, an operations ordinance that we are trying to put in place and to try to get the CUP conditions knocked out into how we want them, I just think we need a little time. It's not saying that we need to, by extending this, we're not saying that we have to use that full time, but if we're not done by that October timeframe when that moratorium expires, where are we? We're left with nothing. We're sitting, you know, we can't cut ourselves that short. I mean, maybe it's only gonna take till November. If you extend it in September, maybe it's only gonna take till November. Maybe it's gonna take till December. But at least we're not selling ourselves short from having that extra time to put into this. We owe it to our people to do the right thing. We only get one shot at this. So,
You should add some reasoning or in the last whereas. 3319 and 320, do they have explanations? And maybe we have to put into that. To make it more clear why it's being extended.
well, the way it's presently drafted, the only purpose that I put in there was referencing the original moratorium and the extension, so it would limit the purpose of the moratorium.
But those have a purpose, both of those,
They do. And I believe the extension limited the scope to anything outside of the shoreland, right? And it also narrowed the focus to a conditional use instead of a siting. Neither one of them contemplated an operational ordinance, neither one of the original moratoriums.
Well, at this time then, do we need to amend that so we can just, we're doing this so we can look at the operations ordinance?
If that's your intent, you would need to, amend it and make it clear. So if you wanted to do that, you would make a recommendation to the full county board that it passed this with this particular amendment.
Well, we haven't voted on it yet, so we can get that put in.
Sure.
First.
So that'd be easier just to put it in there because that's the intent.
Yes.
Well, it isn't just the only intent, is it? Don't we also want to finish cleaning up this CUP?
Yes, this isn't the only, it's to continue the work on the CUP.
Yeah.
It's to look at the health conditions, the scientific studies, all of that.
So it would be to add then a second, be it further resolved. So continue for the purposes previously set forth in the original moratorium. And then another one saying, in addition, to look at an operations ordinance specific to, and I would need your language, but I could pull it up and edit it right now. I have it printed in the clerk's office if you wanted. Okay.
Do that, not send an amended one and do it on the original. That might be better for everyone. Okay. Be a little more clear. And then if we look at that first word, line 16, those two were specific to swine and to a CUP, were they not? The extension?
Correct.
See, so this would have just did that. That's why we have to have that other language in.
All right, so Doug, I just want to make sure that I get the language correct. I've got it pulled up now. So we're going to say, be it further resolved, this extension is also intended to allow for the exploration of an operations-based ordinance with the ESC and the Health and Human Services Board. And then what other specifics did you want me to put in there?
But the previous where we were working on CUPs and.
Yeah, that's already in there. So for those purposes, and so just that's sufficient? Yeah. Okay. Do you want me to put to report? No, I think that's a good one. It'll take a second for me to email this over to the clerk's office and get it printed, but I'll bring a clean copy over for you. And I'll add submitted by Supervisor Rowdy on there, yeah?
Yeah. Amy, Fran, and Tracy.
All three? Okay.
Well, we should have lines on these, so whoever wants to sign it can. There should be lines on there, maybe if everybody wants to sign.
We have committee recommendation on the side to be checked by the clerk, so.
All right, so we'll wait for that to come and clean copies.
Is Duncanson SON or EN? ON. Thank
Mr. Chair, was there ever, and I was looking at the CUP, is knowing what the executive committee wanted to do, does this committee recommend our current CUP or the CUP post DAC caps comment?
Post that cap at the next meeting, and you can look what's left to send.
Post DAC cap.
Okay. Work best with it, Jason.
Correct. I can take it. I can bring a clean version with the conditions removed from DAC. However, you know, and that one of their suggestions was also that it can't be swine specific either. So that's going to be up to you guys if you want to keep the swine specific.
Well, we have to because of our moratorium and our direction from the board. So leave that in. We'll find out what happens.
Okay.
Okay.
You guys want to discuss the operational based ordinance under B at all, or is that going to wait till next time?
Wait.
Wait till next time.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we need to wait and hear back and see what that cap says. And realistically, we're down to 10 minutes anyway.
And the help is going to look at that too.
Right, Chairman O'Connell, I just wanted to point that out, the last two Health and Human Services Committee meetings. This has been an agenda item.
All right.
It will be on future agenda items as well, and staff and I will continue to work with that committee on the development of our operational resources.
So it'll be not probably one of the items. The first draft, they're working on more.
Correct.
Okay.
There's a lot of options in there that might have to be worked on, you know, and that to see who's even, you know, hearing these requests and stuff like that. So it's kind of written for the town of Eureka right now. So it might be completely different at the county, procedural wise.
And then administrative wise, just want to point this out, because of the operational based ordinance has a heavy emphasis on public health and safety as well as animal welfare. It's our understanding that that ordinance would be administered by that governing committee. So like the citing ordinance, administratively be taken by Land and Water for this governing committee. The CUP is the zoning ordinance and this governing committee. So I just wanted to share that with you.
That way, okay. That around. What do we need on our next one? What can? Update.
Thank you, Chairman O'Connell. We anticipate hearing from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources regarding their review of the Stour Trail within the next week or 2 weeks latest. So we anticipate that to be on the September 9th agenda. I will also update you all on the TAG group. The Parks and Trails Advisory Group have all been interviewed. Vince, our county administrator, is currently making those appointments. There's 14 folks selected for that committee. Our intent is to have a first meeting by mid to late September, and staff will help facilitate that group process and work with them in their work. And then just a quick update on the human health hazard and nuisance ordinance. That has been also part of the executive committee agenda back on August 13th. As you may or may not know, Jason in particular spent a lot of time this summer doing a rewrite of those two ordinances and combining them. It's based upon a resolution from last October. It's been presented to the Health and Human Services Committee. That also would be their oversight committee. So the executive committee recommended that it go back to the Health and Human Services Committee, that a study group be created that would include staff from all divisions, because both those ordinances impact public protection, community health, of course, zoning. And so we anticipate that being a project over the fall, and staff, including Tim will be the lead facilitator in rewriting both the health and human hazard ordinance as well as the nuisance ordinance.
All right, so then number 11. Do we have any rezones or anything at zoning to put on the calendar? Or not, is it? No.
Yes, Mr. Chair, on the meeting on the 9th and that, we will have another rezone request and that for a gravel pit expansion. And then it sounds like the CUP conditions could possibly be on there.
Yep.
I'm going to guess from talking with Tim this morning and that we'll probably have his letter or his feedback on the operational based ordinance as well. And that for that meeting.
All right, so that'll cover the zoning, okay. And the Stour update for parks.
Yes, sir. I along with this rezone, the CUP, the operational base ordinance, a Stour Trail update, and we might bring forward an update on the Cattail Trail Bridge project as well.
Okay.
So that contract has been signed and there's a project deadline in place. So.
All right. Anything else that we know? The year-end reports, are they done yet? Or are they gonna do it all in one package at once?
The kind of the annual report from the administrator. Yeah, I'll be doing that probably at the next executive and general government committee and board meeting. Yeah.
But how about in our division?
That would be
Right, we're still anticipating those worksheets. I can't answer that question. We've been waiting for the template to work with for our divisional annual reports and budgets.
Okay. Anything else that's on our work schedule that needs to be added? Can remember. All right. Now, this closed session, that's something we have to do. At number 12.
Yes.
That is something we have to do.
Yes, it won't take too long. We just want to share with you a potential land use issue.
Okay. Well, let's get it over with. Entertain a motion to go into closed session. Tracy, Brad, all those in favor say aye. Okay. Secretary will make a note, she's here. Okay, so we're back in open session. I'll entertain a motion to move this forward, the trading of land. The land swap for the Hanson Kennedy land.
Oh, I make the motion.
Make the motion. Is there a second? Doug? Any more questions on this or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Doesn't have to come back. Don't put it on the next one. Till it's all done. State.
I mean, this was not, we're not talking tax
Deed.
land.
Or the planning committee would decide, do we have to go to the full county board to decide to trade it? No, we voted on it. What?
I mean, you can't go wrong, right? If you
We can't go wrong.
take it to the board. If you don't, somebody's
But
gonna come back
we
and
have to have
question.
another closed session at the full board to discuss it. Or say this is what we decided instead.
Yeah, I don't see the point of having a closed session. This is a open and shut offer. It's pretty clear cut. It's not like you're,
We're not going out buying.
right.
We're selling. Okay.
So, yeah, I like the consent agenda. Hopefully that'll,
Just so that it's on there.
yeah.
Along with the rezone and then of course the downstream and stuff.
Because this is really just a cleanup. This is just a cleanup, yeah.
Vote, I would think consent agenda makes sense.
Okay. We'll say, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay. It'll be on the consent agenda with the zoning stuff, yes. Good. 12 after, 12 minutes late. Do we come back then and shut her down? Is this like a recess?
Yeah.
George, what are you looking at? Yeah, that's where we're at. That's our recess. So we gotta come back. Sure, the times.
Conservation.
Sharing.
14A, County Conservation Aid. This is a grant that we, the Parks Department has applied for every year. It's roughly a $5,000 grant with a 50% match. This is something that's basically we just request it, and it's not guaranteed. It's not guaranteed, but it's almost guaranteed. We get it every year. There is the opportunity to increase our ask from the DNR. If other counties at the end of the cycle don't request their funds, we could potentially get some more money. It's good for 2 years. So when we receive the grant, we have 2 years to complete the work. And so I would like just getting it on the minutes that we'll be requesting for the Atlas, the Long Trade Lake boat launch in Atlas. So.
You have a specific place you want to use it.
The Long Trade Lake boat landing in Atlas.
Okay.
Yep.
So you need us to make a motion for you to send it to the forestry.
Yep. Do we have to specify where it's used? I mean, for the grant? For the grant, yes, I have to specify where it's being used. I don't know if the committee does.
No. So our motion is that you can apply for any state grant.
The County Conservation Aid grant.
Let's leave it that simple. That makes sense?
There's a resolution out there that gives staff authority to apply for grants. We just wanted to make sure that this was in the minutes. So I don't know if we need a motion or not.
Well, we do need a motion for you to pursue the grant, but not specific to what project.
Okay,
Similar to what Mark had requested.
sure. All right,
I can make that motion.
all right, Doug, is there a second? Sure. All right. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? He is gone. Now,
Yes, sir. Ben, do you want to talk about our itinerary?
Active stuff to pass out here.
We're all going to be asking, all of it's not that far away.
That long? We'll go faster. We do. Oh, goodness, for stuff I don't want to do.
Vince, are you coming just in case we run into a bear? We need some food.
No, because we didn't, did we? That's correct. Okay, so we caught it before we really screwed up. Okay,
What do we need? We made a motion to amend it.
well, we're on a recess. We're back. We haven't went on our trip yet. So we're at. What number? Boy, I better find which. 9C. 9C, discussion to extend the moratorium. We've had it rewritten with you guys' names on it, so I will entertain a motion to move this to the full county board.
I'll make a motion to move it to the full county board
All right, Tracy,
with recommendation.
is there a second? Doug will second it. All right, all those in favor say aye. Opposed?
Aye.
All right, so it goes to the full board.
You didn't want to miss that.
Huh?
You didn't want to miss that. You almost went out the door. I got you back to your vote.
Taken. There, that's.
Seeing that we missed it, we could have done it in 2 weeks, so.
We could have, but this.
You can do that.
Yeah, but.
I was just, hey,
Yep.
Chairman said, get outside.
He did, yes, he did, but then you couldn't hear him when he
Aye.
said, oh, wait.
Recess. I didn't have a
I
microphone.
can't hear this